The commander had really treated her badly. Anna and Victor were returning to headquarters after training when the commander met them in the corridor. "You went to training?" Kylo Grey asked, crossing his arms over his chest. And when the knights replied that they had tested the weapons of the new member of the Order together, Kylo was surprised that the princess went with them, and he asked if she was pestering them, to which Anna, slightly surprised, replied that she had not. She is a good person and is always kind to Coco, which surprised the commander now, because the princess mocks people she doesn't like, but is kind to animals, and even listens to Anna's bloody stories about monsters, which Kylo finds difficult to listen to. He assumed that they had misunderstood because the princess could not be so friendly. But on the other hand, compared to him, these two have no position in the palace. They do not care about anything except themselves. Perhaps only they can look at what is happening in the palace with an open mind. Moreover, the princess he had been watching for several days was not the same as before. The man was deep in thought. His ideas about the princess were changing before his eyes. Victor noticed that the commander does not often leave his office, so why did he decide to leave now? Kylo has news for them, and he asked to inform Lady Saint about it, while thinking that soon they will see the princess's true colors, even if she does not want it. The commander of the Order of the Black Knights wants to give Dame Agnes Saint a new task. All the capital's knights of the Black Order will go, including Commander Kylo Grey himself. Knight Sirius Melville thought thoughtfully as he stood against the wall in the courtyard of the palace. As a child, he often visited the palace, as he was His Highness's page. Princess Agnes, whom he then saw, had always been a very unusual child. Even then, she appropriated Raymond to herself and did not want to let him go anywhere, literally not giving him passage. Insolent, spoiled when something didn't go the way she wanted, she got angry. But as time passed, Sirius realized that she did all this to beg for attention and love. When she was very young, she lost her mother, and Nanny, her father, is constantly busy. And her only older brother is cold towards her, due to the difference in status. She cannot make friends. When everyone she was close to moved away from her, the princess was left completely alone. Those who are constantly around her cannot hate her because they know about her loneliness. Even the commander knows about this, but he couldn't be more lenient. Sirius couldn't believe he was capable of expressing himself like that. But wait a minute, the man remembered something that might be his fault. On the day of the princess's first mission as a Black Knight, it was Sirius who tormented the commander that she might get hurt. If he had not sent the commander to the princess, they would not have met then. And as a result, the princess would not have had to listen to all those insults. From this conclusion, Sirius could barely stand on his own 2 feet and was forced to lean against the wall. It turns out that all this happened because of him. And what should he do about it now? During lunch, Emperor Alexander and Princess Agnes were in the palace dining room. The Emperor father sadly cast lonely glances at his beloved daughter. He hasn't seen his Agnes for a long time. It seems she's lost weight. Is it worth it? As he is informed, Agnes conscientiously attends the training of the Order of the Black Knights every day, without exception. Yet entrusting Agnes to Kylo was the best decision when his little squirrel became so serious. Noticing the Emperor's strange glances at her, the girl thought that strange thoughts were visiting him again, but she looked like that for a different reason. Having finished her meal, Agnes stood up from her seat and announced that she would go. After all, tomorrow she needs to get up early to prepare for the task. The girl finished with a smile. Agnes's face glowed with happiness. Her cheeks flushed and her eyes softened. Finally, the task she had been waiting for. It was time to say goodbye to the days when she only sniffed Kylo's handkerchief. She goes on a trip with her lover for 4 days and 3 nights. She is so excited that she has not slept for several days, but is not at all tired. For today's sake, she even took a mini camera with her, which she hid under her cape. Agnes's joy waned a little when, on the way to headquarters, she saw something unusual. The White Knights brought carts. Are they really going on a mission today? As she heard, White Knights have the closest region, and Black Knights have the most distant one. And why do they need so much luggage? Are they moving or something? During the war, everything was pinned on those who were on the front line, but now they are forced to go to the very farthest. So everyone was distributed, obviously. The leader of all 4 orders should be the commander of the White Knights, Raymond Spencer. If you think about it like that, it's a shame that word of the abuse incident didn't spread much. Raymond, watching the loading, noticed a girl hiding behind the carriage. The commander purposefully walked closer to her and now stood face to face with Princess Agnes Saint. The girl looked at him with big lilac eyes and didn't say a word. Her whole appearance made an indelible impression on Raymond. The man could not take his eyes off her. Why is he staring at me? Agnes could not understand, noticing this strange look. Raymond doesn't care where Kylo is. The girl turned around and left, discouraging the commander with her behavior. Kylo Grey immediately appeared, who immediately noted that Lady Agnes Saint was also already here. The princess was very glad to see him because she was very bored, having not seen her kitten Kylo for many days. The commander of the Black Knights explained that they were heading to the SP3 area, which suffered the most damage during the war. After psychological assistance to the evacuated local residents and their treatment, it is necessary to conduct a thorough inspection of the village for the sake of its subsequent restoration. This is the main goal of the mission. Since the scale of the territory is large for a long journey, they will be accompanied by soldiers. If everyone is ready, then it's time for them to leave, the commander of the Black Knights concluded. Yes, Lady Agnes Saint answered louder than everyone else and too joyfully, smiling from ear to ear. Kylo only looked at the overly cheerful girl with suspicion. It seemed that she did not understand where she was going. This will not be an easy task, monsters. Like the one that attacked the princess then? Will come out in groups. That's how it is, the girl asked mysteriously, coming closer to the commander. Then she needs to stay close to him to avoid danger. Agnes came close to Kylo. Kylo understood everything in his own way, not as the princess herself wanted. Does this mean that he must try to prevent a repetition of what happened? Otherwise, the Emperor will not forgive him for this. For a moment, Kylo thought he might be biased towards her. But she was no ordinary girl. She was Princess Agnes. Why are you standing there, Commander? Didn't you say that we need to hurry up? The girl had already saddled her horse, ready to ride at any moment. Kylo didn't understand anything at all, her constant mood swings and excessive cheerfulness. But still he made some conclusions and decided how to behave with her. In general, it is no different from babysitting a small child. The path to the mission was long, and the first night they decided to spend the night in the forest and hit the road in the morning. The commander decided to examine the surroundings and ordered the knights to get ready for bed. As soon as Kylo left, all the other knights went about their business, and Agnes looked around helplessly, not understanding what to do. Everyone acts independently, without any specific orders, which quite surprised the girl. And she can't sit idle either, but it's her first time on a hike and she has no idea what to do. She noticed a group of soldiers making a fire, and something interested her. "Excuse me, is this edible?" she asked one soldier, surprising him with her question. And then, under the surprised looks of those around her, Agnes rolled up her sleeves and decided that she would start cooking. Kylo finished reconnaissance of the area and returned very tired. But what he saw in the camp surprised him very much. Soldiers, knights, and Agnes were sitting around a fire on which crayfish that had come from nowhere were being fried. But tonight's dinner was supposed to be beef jerky and soup, so where did the crayfish come from? And the soldiers just recently grumbled about the fact that they were forced to travel with Her Highness, who would definitely show her character. But now I talk to her amicably and even thank her for the delicious food. Did the princess really catch crayfish because the soldiers complained about the food? The commander wondered. Absurdity, a waste of time, yet she really thinks that they are on a picnic. But the soldiers were very pleased with the food because they believed that it was possible to eat so deliciously only in expensive restaurants. And even Victor and Anna, previously unpretentious knights, enjoyed their food. But most of all, as usual, Princess Agnes was pleased, also devouring crayfish on both cheeks. And the sight of this happy and therefore beautiful girl slightly discouraged the commander. Without saying a word, he joined his team, deciding that it was better than lowering morale. After another day of travel, the Black Knight's order reached a sanctuary near the SP3 area. The inhabitants of the refuge were quite excited by rumors that the Black Knights would arrive with the princess. They were worried that the princess, known for her bad temper and bullying people, would treat the villagers like slaves. But we still hoped that everything would go well. And so the Black Knights finally arrived in the village, and with them Princess Agnes Saint. The headman came out to greet them and tell them about the state of the village and its inhabitants. But there were also several other observers at this meeting who saw the knights for the first time in their lives. The boy and girl looked with delight at the lady who arrived with the knights and even mistook her for a saint. But they still remembered that the saint had black hair, and this must be the princess of the empire. Agnes elegantly dismounted from her horse and approached the children standing nearby. "Guys, where are your sick people?" Agnes asked, leaning slightly towards them in a friendly manner. The children, delighted with her beauty, could only point to a house standing in the distance. Thanking for the help, the girl immediately went there to fulfill her direct duties as a healer. Demons spread 2 diseases. One of them is demonization, a disease that causes a person's skin to turn black. He loses his mind and, like a monster, attacks people. Only a saint can heal a demonized person. No one else can do this. And the second disease, it does not change a person, like demonization, but it is incurable and causes necrosis throughout the body. Even the cleansing of a saint is not able to cure a person. Only a few magicians who have reached the level of a magician of light can get rid of this terrible disease. And she, Agnes, is the youngest of all the existing light magicians, which means that now she has a chance to restore Kylo's reputation. The commander was still talking with the village headman when someone timidly called out to him. Anna timidly reported that a big problem had arisen. The supply of drinking water was completely cut off. And for 2 days now, only water mixed with the blood of monsters has been pouring out of the pipe. It seems that there is a problem with the river. This news unpleasantly surprised the commander. And in other sources of water nearby, there is also the same blood. Since there is a river here, Kylo believed that clean water should not be included in financial assistance. While thinking about options for solving this problem, one good idea came to him. If you think about it this way, Princess Agnes is a magician who can provide purification, but she has never used this power to benefit others. Will she agree to cooperate? And he asked where Lady Saint had gone, receiving in response that she went to the sick. This information fell on his head like a stone. This girl cannot be left unattended for a second. If the princess does something to the sick and makes a fuss, then he will be held responsible. Hurrying to the house where the sick were, Kylo heard someone crying as he approached. He was worried about what the princess had done in such a short time. Was she really just pretending to be calm? But what he saw from where the crying came from undoubtedly exceeded all his expectations. Agnes stood in the middle of a room filled with sick people, and yellow magic rays glowed around her. Each of the patients examined themselves with surprise, feeling how they were getting better and not a trace of the disease remained. People thanked the princess for her help, and Kylo looked at the girl with his mouth open, realizing what she had just done. "Ah, Commander, you've arrived?" Agnes seemed to feel his gaze and slowly turned around, beaming when she saw the one she was always glad to see. "The princess healed us. May the imperial family be blessed. Thank you, princess." Gratitude to Agnes was heard everywhere. The girl noticed that she simply acted as every knight of the order should do, and followed the commander's instructions. "Thank you very much, Sir Grey." The grateful villagers immediately picked up, surprising the man a lot. Kylo realized with surprise that Agnes said that on purpose so that people would consider him a hero. And people really called both of them heroes who saved them from a terrible disease. "By the way, Commander, why were you looking for me?" Agnes asked, remembering that he called her. Confused, Kylo explained that there was a problem with the river, and now people had no access to drinking water, and asked if Agnes could clean it up. However, she must have now spent all her strength on such a powerful spell to heal the sick, and Agnes felt that this was her chance. The chance to touch him, she immediately pretended to be dizzy and hung onto Kylo's arm. When the man asked her to rest, she replied that everything was fine and she just needed to stand there for a while, and then she could start cleaning the river. Kylo thought that if she held on to him all the way, they would walk for a long time meanwhile. The girl tightly hugged the commander's muscular arm, feeling all his muscles. But there is nothing to do. He needs to help people, and since Agnes is tired, he is forced to help her. The next moment, Kylo picked up the princess in his arms and went with her to the polluted river. In the first seconds, Agnes could not believe that this was happening to her, and the man's face was very close. But after a moment, she wondered with delight and disbelief what was happening, and the girl's heart beat faster and faster. Soon they came to a river, which looked very depressing and was of a dirty red color. The headman noted that everything had become even more serious compared to what it was in the morning. The commander of the Black Knights stated with regret that this was so. Agnes calmly held on to him all the way. It seems that she was still very tired, but judging by the fact that even in this state the princess is ready to clear the water, she has a strong sense of responsibility. But if she was hugging him too tightly, Kylo gently asked the girl if she could purify the water. The girl finally opened her arms to look at the water that had to be cleaned, and she suggested that such a volume would be difficult to clean at one time. At first, Agnes decided to deal only with the water that was needed right now, and then when she had a rest, she would eliminate the source of pollution upstream. and therefore she asked to fill the required amount of water into barrels, which the soldiers did on the orders of the commander. Kylo Gray also helped with collecting water and at the same time controlled everything. After some time, all the necessary water was collected and awaited further action. Therefore, Agnes was determined to use her power to purify the water. The girl extended her hand, and then magic happened, which illuminated everything around with a bright light. After some time, all the water in the barrels became clean, as if it had never been dirty. The commander ordered the barrels to be carried and the water distributed among the people. To be honest, Agnes was not confident in her abilities, but she was still able to clear everything at once. Did the princess always have such power? "How are you feeling?" She heard a question from Kylo Gray, concerned about her appearance. She turned pale. "Was she really dizzy again?" the commander asked. The girl immediately replied that it was a little hard and that she would have to return the same way she came here, already imagining how she would hug Kylo tightly again. It was normal for her to feel a little dizzy, but the next moment the picture of the world around her was shaken. She thought she was fine, but apparently she wasn't. And the last thing she saw before she passed out was the frightened sight of Kylo trying to catch her. "Princess, princess, find a place where you can take the princess." People were fussing around, but the girl's consciousness was no longer here. "Why does she always walk alone?" her classmates whispered behind her back. Probably because her mother cheated on her husband and gave birth to her, and then left home completely. Her father is also a famous person. He broke the windows of all the shops in the area while drunk. Even though her family is so problematic, she doesn't apologize to anyone. She just looks at her phone every day, even though she has no one to correspond with. Her gloomy character makes her feel uncomfortable. Because of the label that was put on her, she has been a loner for several years now, but she still hasn't gotten used to it. Kylo was also a loner for the same reason, but since meeting him, working hard until he died, she began to feel less lonely. She will do everything for him, who has become the light in her life. She will be able to do anything for Kylo. Agnes opened her eyes, awakening from her half-dream, half-memory. She seemed to have passed out, so happy to be hugging Kylo that she didn't even notice how exhausted she was. "How are you feeling?" Kylo asked worriedly, very close to her. And Agnes looked in surprise straight into the eyes of the slightly embarrassed man. Kylo personally looked after her, the princess realized, and the commander hastened to reassure her that nothing serious had happened, and she simply fell asleep from fatigue, so she needed to rest and begin to prepare for further work. For some reason, it seemed to the princess that Kylo began to treat her even colder than yesterday. Maybe he was in a bad mood. Either way, it was nice to see Kylo's face right after waking up. But the man himself was overcome by different thoughts, especially after what happened while the princess was sleeping. Like a true gentleman, Kylo was by his side while Agnes recovered her strength in her sleep. The girl slept restlessly, and he assumed that she was having nightmares and that he should wake her up. But as soon as he approached the bed, intending to do this, she, without waking up, said his name, "Kylo." It was so unexpected that the man froze, listening to the sleeping girl. For some reason, heat washed over his cheeks, and his heart beat faster, which had never happened to him. But why? Why did she say his name in such an unconscious state? The next day, grateful villagers asked if everything was okay with the princess. After all, she tried so hard for the good of the village, but why were there such unpleasant rumors about her? Perhaps they are attacking her because she is famous, because that is what aristocrats are like. And when Agnes finally left the chambers reserved for her rest, people were already waiting impatiently for her. Knights, soldiers, and even villagers were all worried about how she was doing. How can the attitude of others change in just one day? Agnes thought, and answered that she was completely fine. "I've collected all my things," a stern voice was heard, and the princess's mood, already good, improved even more. "You look better than before," the commander of the Black Knights complimented, and the girl replied that it was thanks to him that she felt much better, literally beaming from the happiness bursting through her. From such a bright beauty of the girl, the heart of the stern man trembled. Commander Gray announced that it was time to go clean up the river, and Agnes happily agreed. While the soldiers will protect the refuge and residents, the Black Knights will search the village and return the house to the local residents. This is the task for today. For reconnaissance, the commander suggested dividing into 2 teams, and turned around to look at his knights. Victor and Anna were already anticipating how they would deal with the monsters, and their eyes were full of bloodlust. Therefore, Kylo announced that the first team was Lady Monteros and Sir Craven. and Lady Agnes would go with him, and at this prospect of being alone with him, Agnes could hardly contain her joy. The commander called the girl, frozen in confusion, and she hurried to approach him. With a trembling voice, trying to restrain her emotions, the girl asked what he wanted. "Your horse," Kylo began, and the animal seemed to understand that it was about him. No matter how you look at it, it does not look like a fighting horse. And this was indeed the case. The horse looked gentle and beautiful. Agnes stroked the animal in surprise, not understanding what the commander was getting at and what to do in this case. Kylo explained that it could be dangerous there, so she would ride on a horse with him on the mission, greatly surprising the girl. She immediately flew off the horse, surprised by such agility, and headed towards Kylo. Climbing onto the commander's horse, she tightly grabbed the man around the waist. "Horse, wait here," she mentally said to her abandoned horse. "Your mistress is going on a date." At that moment, Agnes was happier than ever in her life, because she was hugging her beloved Kylo again. Having reached the impenetrable thickets, Kylo said that from here they would go on foot. "We will search the forest," the girl asked, to which she received the answer that there was a high probability that, due to their instincts, the monsters would hide in the forest. But the princess was worried about the horse. What if monsters attacked it? Kylo reassured that the horse was trained to participate in combat, so the monster would not kill it in case of danger. It would simply run away. At that moment, the commander extended his hand to help her get off the horse, which made the girl hesitate. She thought he was so polite, but the princess's wide smile made the man wonder why she was smiling. He was indignant about why he was given the role of nanny on the assignment, since initially this was Raymond's responsibility. The princess's spoken name in his sleep puzzled Kylo at first, but then he understood. While pronouncing it, the girl was unconscious, which means she did not control her feelings. And his very existence is a real nightmare for the princess. She hates him so much that she even dreams about him. A sudden sharp sound interrupted his train of thought and made him turn around in fear. "What was that sound?" he asked, looking at Dame Agnes Saint. Commander, is there anything like mines here by any chance?" the girl asked in a voice that was not her own. It seemed like she had just stepped on something. Kylo was slowly starting to realize what had happened, but too slowly. "Stop! You can't remove your leg!" the man shouted, rushing to the girl. But it was already too late. A bright, magical glow engulfed the man and woman who found themselves in the very center. Out of fear, Agnes screamed loudly, clinging to Kylo. The next second, all sounds died down, as if nothing had happened, and the forest in this place turned out to be deserted. Damn it. Agnes and Kylo found themselves locked in a cramped, small stone space, something like a small closet. The commander explained that this is a trap created to imprison demons. Those who step on them end up here for a while. Realizing that she had now caused a lot of trouble, Agnes asked with horror how long they would have to stay locked up, and whether monsters could appear here. To which the commander replied that they would stay here for about 20 minutes, and the monsters would not get here. Everything turned out to be not so bad. They won't die of hunger and won't meet monsters. And here she will be left alone with Kylo. Agnes was happy. A unique experience of being in paradise. She simply had to take advantage of this opportunity, and the girl quietly said that she was not feeling well, asking permission to lean on the commander. Kylo, feeling guilty that she was so tired from constantly using magic, allowed her to do so. "Then I will disturb you," Agnes said, pressing herself even closer to him in the already limited space. Kylo never expected such a turn of events, but he was not unpleasant about it. Agnes, leaning on him, literally melted on his chest, relaxing as much as possible. The same could not be said about the man on the contrary. Such closeness of the girl made him feel awkward. He was literally at a loss, but he couldn't escape and couldn't do anything, so Kylo just sat there, letting the girl rest on his chest. He does not like Agnes Saint. She humiliates people because of their origin, behaves arrogantly, enlisting the support of the Emperor. And of all the men, she is in love with Raymond Spencer. He does not like any of these points. However, is it the smell of flowers in the forest, or is it the smell of her body? All girls' skin is so soft? Kylo wondered. And what a warm and gentle aroma he had never encountered before. Kylo tried to calm down, remembering the people he hated, such as Spencer and the people of the Grey family. But then Agnes twitched, making herself more comfortable, which only intensified the pleasant aroma. "Sorry, Commander, my strength has faded." The girl apologized for the inconvenience caused. Damn. All of Kylo's efforts to think about unpleasant people were shattered. While Agnes mentally admired his elastic muscles, the man thought that it was hard, but not in the physical sense. 20 minutes later, the forest lit up with a bright flash of light. The opened trap released its unwitting prisoners, who now found themselves where they were before, in the middle of the forest. Agnes was unhappy that everything happened too quickly, but the commander breathed a sigh of relief. "Are you okay, Commander?" the girl asked, and the man looked at her in surprise. The princess, holding out her hand to him, promised to be more careful in the future so as not to step on any more mines. "They're hard to spot," Kylo replied, accepting the helping hand, adding that he had a better offer. Agnes asked in surprise what he was offering. Does he really want to carry her in his arms again so that she doesn't hit the mine again? And immediately notes that this is a good idea and she should stock up on energy. Kylo instantly returned to his previous mood. He understood the reasons for the girl's behavior. The princess simply considers him to be something like a servant or a carriage and offers his back. After all, touching an instrument cannot be pleasant, he finished his thought, while Agnes hugged him tightly and contentedly from behind. The princess doesn't treat him like a man, she doesn't even treat him like a person. This is not new for him, but why is he so angry? Finally, they came to the very source of the river's pollution, to its mouth. Apparently, the pollution starts from here, they decided together. There, on the other hand, Lady Monteros and Sir Craven were passing by, so Agnes decided to begin the cleansing here. But the smell of rot prevented the girl from concentrating. The scale is incomparable to yesterday. Will Agnes be able to clear it all alone? Nevertheless, the girl decided to use the power of her magic stone. In addition, it is worth testing the new weapon in practice, and the princess took out her staff, pointing it at the river. The next moment, she pulled the trigger, activating the magic stone. The glow, weak at first, became stronger and stronger, raising splashes of bloody, dirty water into the air. But soon the water began to clear, and Agnes closed her eyes, protecting them from the ever-increasing glow. The commander also closed his eyes, protecting himself from the bright magical light. A pillar of magical energy rose into the sky, purifying everything around it for miles, and a clear, deep river mixed with magical energy opened up to the eyes of the people standing on the shore. Agnes closed her eyes in concentration and opened her beautiful eyes again. "Amazing," Kylo said, not taking his eyes off the once dirty river. Now, in that place there was a deep, clear, fast river like transparent glass. Agnes couldn't believe her eyes. Did she really pull it off? Commander was heard from the side, and Kylo turned around in surprise. They were very happy, Anna and Victor, and everything would have been fine, but their appearance was terrible. The princess was literally horrified by the way they looked, covered in blood and other parts of monsters, but with sparkling smiles. The monsters came up one after another. It was a glorious hunt, Victor said with admiration, and Anna echoed him that she had never experienced such pleasure. They talked about it as if they were leaving a review of a children's cafe. Agnes and Kylo listened to their delight with a certain amount of disgust and horror. The commander then asked if they had found the source of the river pollution, to which Anna replied that they found it, and it was terrible. The surviving monsters collected the corpses of their relatives and set up an altar, conducting resurrection ceremonies. There was a sea of blood. "It's clear, you did great." The pleased Commander Kylo Grey praised them. The Black Knights were also very pleased with their work, especially that they received praise from the commander. Now they need to finish demining the village, and it will be time to return. However, the Knights of the Black Order did not know that someone had stolen the mines collected that day. "We're going back to the shelter," Kylo said as the sun was already setting. Without arousing any suspicion, the princess followed her commander, and only a slight smile indicated that the girl was up to something. She had collected mines in her pocket, and she thought with delight that she would be locked alone with Kylo again. Soon, having worked hard, the Black Knights were about to leave the cleared village. All the villagers sincerely thanked them for returning their village to them. Agnes was happy that she was able to help people. In addition, the princess slightly improved her and Kylo's reputation. The Black Knights and soldiers also received the gratitude of the knights, which made everyone in a good mood. May God's blessing forever remain with the Knights of the Black Order. After several days of travel, the detachment finally returned home and slowly entered the city. In the center of it, the Imperial Castle was already visible where they were heading. The soldiers discussed that the campaign was finally over, but the trip wasn't that bad. But then their attention was attracted by more people who were also returning home. "It looks like the White Knights have just returned. They must have had a mission near the capital, but why are they riding around in carriages?" Kylo also took notice of the carriages of these upstart White Knights. The commander of the White Knights, Raymond Spencer, and Saint Liliana came out of the carriage, and the latter called out to him in surprise. Initially, Kylo, who saw them, had a very gloomy and frightening expression on his face, such that the girl was even scared. But Hugo Rodian immediately came to her, and Liliana hastened to answer that she was simply confused by such a serious expression on her face, because she always meets only friendly knights. Agnes, who witnessed this absurd scene, did not understand what this farce was about. Is the saint really unhappy that Kylo didn't bow down to her? Agnes does not hate Liliana, on the contrary. Her obvious pretense can be considered cute. At that moment, the saint sweetly greeted the princess, smiling from ear to ear, and asked where they were returning from. However, Liliana dared to encroach on her beloved kitten Kylo. "I allowed you to open your mouth," Princess Agnes remarked contemptuously, looking at the saint. The girl immediately became shy and asked what the princess meant. According to the laws of the Empire, a person of lower status is not allowed to be the first to speak to a person of higher status. "It seems you couldn't remember even such a simple rule," Agnes casually remarked. From such words, Liliana was even speechless, but immediately found something to answer, recalling the order of His Majesty. While she is in the form of a knight, she should be treated as a simple member of the order. His Majesty gave this order to only one person. "Sir Kylo Grey, do you want to desecrate the honor of the imperial family by distorting His Majesty's order?" Agnes asked menacingly. Kylo was mesmerized by the way the girl easily and majestically put the saint in her place. The man's heart skipped a beat, an incomprehensible feeling overcome his soul. Agnes continued to say that since a person who belongs to the Knights of the Order and carries out tasks is not familiar with the laws of the Empire, then a clear understanding comes of how irresponsible his boss is. And this was clearly a dig at the commander of the White Knights, Raymond Spencer. Agnes's look said that she was dissatisfied with their behavior, but did not intend to discuss it further. Without even looking at Raymond, the princess turned and walked away, leaving the commander confused by her behavior. The soldiers, who became unwitting witnesses to what happened, whispered that even though the saint had made a mistake, it was too much, and even Sir Spencer got it. But Raymond understood the reasons for the princess's behavior. In retaliation for not accepting her feelings, the princess wants to ruin his honor. Has this also caused the spread of ridiculous rumors such as verbal abuse? Moreover, this is the contemptuous expression on Agnes's face addressed to him, Raymond. It causes discomfort for him, such a disgusting feeling that he cannot get rid of. After this, the princess reported to the emperor about her safe return and completion of the task. Due to the emperor's excessive guardianship, she was forbidden to leave the palace for some time. And while Agnes left on a mission, the maids expectedly went on vacation to their homeland. Therefore, she learned about the reaction to the results of the activities of the Black Knights in the SP3 area, and to what happened at the gate only a few days after her return. The maids helped the mistress take a bath and asked how her task went, but Agnes was interested in where Daisy was, and it turned out that she would not arrive until next week. Having received no answers to their questions, the girls looked at each other suspiciously. A couple of days ago, sitting in the garden, they discussed the latest gossip and rumors that had happened in the palace. There they learned that the Black Knights had clashed with the White Knights at the gate, and what the princess had done. Princess Agnes publicly pointed out the saint's mistake and blamed Sir Spencer for it. To be honest, after what happened to the saint, the girls felt a little better, because men elevate her too much due to the fact that in the past she was a commoner. But for the princess to do this to Sir Spencer is the most exciting gossip of the whole year. And now, helping the mistress, the maids tried to find out something else. One of the girls pretended that she had just remembered hearing that on the way back, they met with White Knights, and the princess reprimanded Sir Spencer for some saintly oversight. The girls asked if everything was okay with the lady, because she met Sir Spencer for the first time after that incident. "How can I be okay? Every time I look into his eyes, it's like a knife pierces my heart." The girls were touched by this answer from the princess, and Agnes, although she was pleased with their reaction, was still looking forward to the time when she could stop pretending to be a rejected girl. She noticed that she did not want to talk more about Sir Spencer. The maids, of course, took into account the mistress's wishes, and remembered that they had also heard about the princess's feat on the mission. Rumor has it that the beautiful and powerful Princess Agnes has arrived in a distant village, and with one wave of her hand she cleared all the mountains and rivers in the area and healed hundreds of sick people. And the fairest and bravest knights of the Black Order saved the village from monsters. "This is what people say. It's so amazing," the maid recounted the rumors with delight. Agnes was surprised that they were saying such things about her, a princess with a difficult character. But what does all this mean? The girl wondered. She wanted Kylo to be considered a hero. Although people have prejudices about the Black Knights, they still helped the villagers a lot. As a sign of apology, they began to spread slightly highly exaggerated stories about their exploits. And Agnes was shocked that this was exactly what people said. Previously, no one could have imagined marrying the princess because of her character, reputation, and love for Sir Spencer. But this rumor caused a great stir throughout the empire among aristocrats whose families had a son. This is a chance to become related to the imperial family, which is given only once in a lifetime. But it was one man, closely associated with Raymond Spencer, who was most shocked. Raymond, a loud cry echoed through the house, and the elder Spencer, the same duke who was opposed to the wedding of the emperor and empress, burst into his son's room. Raymond, who had previously been peacefully reading a book, closed it with regret as soon as he saw his worried father. "What did you say to Princess Agnes that such a rumor began to spread? Didn't I tell you that you would regret it later?" The father was indignant. He thought it would be great if they were friends, like brother and sister, like they were in childhood. But Raymond was offended by these words, and he rather rudely interrupted his father's speech. "I clearly said that I would never marry the princess." Raymond was as categorical as ever. The Duke was upset that his son was not able to look into the future even for a moment. Raymond believed that this was the only way he would do the right thing, because he had to go through a lot. In his youth, his father missed his first love, deceived by false hopes of intimacy, and married his mother because she reminded him of her, and Raymond's mother devoted her whole life to winning his heart. And the only daughter of the one her father misses when he drinks is Princess Agnes Saint, a child who does as he pleases regardless of other people's feelings. Because she loved him and constantly followed him around, he perceived her as a sweet and charming little sister. Yes, until the very day when his whole life changed, everything was in perfect order. "You say right now?" the boy asked, looking at the rain raging outside the window. The butler bowed and confirmed that the princess said that they had agreed with her. Earlier, Raymond told Agnes that when raindrops hit the pond, a fairy frog appears from there, and the girl wanted to play here on a rainy day. It was an empty and childish promise made as a joke. But since his mother left for her homeland, there has been no news from her. The boy worried, not finding a place for himself. In such weather, the monsters become stronger, and he asked to at least wait for news that his mother had arrived safely. But the man noticed that if he did not keep his promise, then he would face severe punishment, as well as himself if he did not bring Raymond. Knowing Agnes's bad character, Raymond had no choice but to agree. And in such rainy weather, the carriage took Raymond and Agnes to the pond. And late at night, terrible news awaited him in the mansion his mother died. Raymond knew that his mother's death was not Agnes's fault. But if he had stayed home in the evening, he could have been with her in her last hour, and this thought gradually ate away at his mind. The daughter of a woman who poisoned his mother's entire life. A child who, because of her selfishness, forced his mother to live her last minutes alone. When he looks at her, Raymond remembers his mother. It's unbearable. Despite the fact that he does not react to her and avoids her, Agnes still does not let him go. Since childhood, he behaved quite harshly and unfriendly towards her, and even when she was injured in front of his eyes, he did not show the slightest attention. Although it cost him some effort, the memories of his mother and her suffering made him tough, and Raymond simply left this persistent girl over and over again. One day, he deliberately scheduled a meeting in the rain and made her wait in the downpour all day. If Agnes caught a cold, he would be free for a while. But this naive girl wrote him a letter asking him to meet again as soon as she recovered. Soon after this, she recovered, and despite her fatigue, she called him to the castle. Raymond was endlessly tired of all this, her constant pestering and pestering. But he is sure that Agnes will not let him go this time. She simply cannot. She won't give up her affection for him, that's for sure. Life in the palace went on as usual, only occasionally breaking up with minor events. "Princess, I'm back." A smiling girl, Agnes's servant Daisy Rodion, returned from vacation. She immediately said that she missed the princess very much and hoped that she missed her too. But Daisy also noticed that Princess Agnes was making something and became interested in it. Agnes was making a camera. Since this world is dominated by steampunk, all the basic things are there, but still, compared to the previous life, there is a lot missing here. Agnes wasn't able to take any photos on her last mission because she was busy cleaning, but only one camera can capture all the beauty of Kylo.
Like this video. Hit the like button and subscribe for more videos.